So I actually was back in 2007. I was charged with a felony in New Jersey. I was charged with a felony. So the felony was unlawful possession of a weapon. The weapon that I had was it was a Bowie knife. So I believe the blade was like, I think, larger than 8 inches. And just to say something here, like, to be very honest with you, so the whole situation, it was very situational. I was in my car, I was pulled over in my own town, Roselle Park, New Jersey. And I had this, I forgot I had this knife. It was on the side panel of my car. So the police officer, he made me step out of the car. And then once I stepped out of the car, he saw the knife in there. And see, this is going back to, well, this is 2006 when that happened. No wait, it was 2007. But either way, during that time, I don't even think they had body cameras. And to be honest, the police, they tended to be a little bit more reckless and just pretty much abuse their power a little bit more than they actually do today. I'm not saying that all police officers are bad or not. I'm not saying that all police officers do that. There are police officers who do their jobs, and they are they're ethical. But I just didn't like the way that situation was handled, because the police officer decided to throw me up on the car. Because at that time I was really big too, so I guess I was, or I intimidated some people. I mean, you could tell when you intimidate people because they'll act angry, or yeah, they'll act like, you know, aggressively towards you for no reason. That's what he did. So that's what he did. He just acted aggressively towards me. He threw me onto the car. And as he threw me on the car, he was like, "What are you trying to stab me? What are you trying to stab me?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Because I didn't even see. And I was like, "Oh shit, oh look, my knife is in the side panel of the car." So that's when I got the ticket. It was for, well, I guess the charge, unlawful possession of a weapon. And again, I wasn't doing anything with the weapon. I didn't have a weapon in my hand. Nothing like that. Nothing like that. But either way, I mean, what does the Constitution say? The Constitution says you have the right to bear arms. And why? I mean, the whole reason that exists in the Constitution is to be able to defend yourself, especially if you're out there, because there's people out there who will have weapons and knives and they'll use it against you to rob you or whatever. It happens all the time. So you figure, how are you going to defend yourself? How are you going to be walking around in a free country without having that? And I'm like, it's not a gun. And in the state of New Jersey, I mean, I think still till this day, they have so many laws against a regular citizen having a gun. But then what happens? And this is just the reality. The reality is that criminals and, yeah, I mean, people who are career criminals, because that's what it is. They'll get guns illegally and they'll have them. And that's just the way they live their lives. And then when they're caught with it, they go to jail. And they'll go in and out of jail. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. People who are in gangs, or just people who do this type of stuff. Or little gangs, little crews, as what they would call it. So I mean, you figure if you have all this shit around you, you're not part of a fucking gang. You're alone most of the time. Cause I was alone most of the time. I go to work alone, work out alone. I mean, have friends, of course, you play basketball with or whatever. But still, let's just say somebody comes up to you, they have a gun, they want to rob you, you're fucked. way, I just believe that when that happens, my rights are violated. Because I do have the right to have weapons or bear arms, just like anybody else. And it's a freaking knife. It's a freaking knife, man. Like here in Florida, you can have weapons like that. You can carry, I believe you can open carry knives too out here, but they don't make such a big deal. And to be very honest, and the most fucked up part here, this is what'll get people to not believe in the justice system or law, is that a lot of times they did that in order to collect money. That's what it is. It's like, oh, let me give as many tickets to this person so that we can pretty much get money from this person, whether it's a speeding ticket or anything. And I mean, once I found out that a lot of prisons are privatized, you figure just because of that fact, then they're gonna need more prisoners, and the more prisoners they can have in there, the better, because they make more profit and they open up more prisons. So that's something that should not be. I don't think that should be, man. That's my opinion. You should not privatize shit like that, because then the incentives are just to keep people in jail. Yes, keep them alive, keep them in jail, keep them going in and out of jail, instead of helping somebody, rehabilitate them. And if somebody goes through that process, like if somebody goes in and out of jail and they're with people who are like that, like violent, just everyday fucking violent, it does something to your mind. So you figure already this person is gonna need mental health services, and it's gonna take a toll on their lives, because you figure that time they could be spending with their families or whatever, but no, they're somewhere with a therapist or somewhere in group therapy, which again, 100% believe in, but it shouldn't be something that should take up most of your life. So again, I'm all for changing of that to a positive one, just because, well, what I experienced, luckily I never went to jail. Luckily I never, if I would have never gotten a lawyer, which basically I had to get a lawyer during that time, and they took that to Union County, New Jersey. And I don't know what the lawyer did. I mean, to me, the way that they did that, it just seemed like they made some type of deal. And it was like, oh, this person has no offenses. Oh, okay, let's give them, let's give them something though. We gotta give them something. So it's like, okay, they ended up charging me with a misdemeanor of disorderly person. And I was like, that sounds worse. Like, that sounds like I was doing something. It sounds like I was being disorderly. And then their answer was, oh yes, you were being disorderly by being in the possession of a knife, which is just like, I just wanted to say this, like, jerk off and be like, fuck you, you know what I'm saying? Like, fuck out of here. Like, I wasn't doing nothing or anything. But whatever. What I did was I just brushed it off, kept working, kept going in life. But at the same time, I still had that thing in the back of my mind. Like, I felt like a bad person. I felt like I was not worthy of being at the same level of some other people who never had anything like that happen to them. So imagine being like that for 5, 6, 7 years or longer, just feeling that way, like doing things, but at the same time just feeling unworthy of the respect and love of others, which is, it's a punishment in itself. It's like having your mind, like a lot of people say, it's having your mind in prison. It's being the prison of the mind, prison of a false perception of yourself, which it leads you to be an underachiever and just miss out on opportunities, whether it's an opportunity to have friends in your life or have a loved person in your life, feel good, an opportunity to feel proud of yourself, an opportunity to feel valuable or be valuable to yourself and other people. But again, that's what I did. So after 5 years passed, I looked into the laws and what I could do. So I was like, okay, this is what I could do. So, and I did this myself. I didn't use a lawyer or nothing. Because once my experience with that lawyer, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this myself. I'm not gonna use anybody else. I'm gonna learn all this stuff by myself. And this was when everything online was rising, like YouTube, Facebook, everything was growing during that time. Amazon was growing, Google, Wikipedia. I mean, even though a lot of people just knocked Wikipedia because they were like, oh, anybody can edit it. But for the most part, a lot of things you look up on there, they are true. But either way, if it's not, just use another online encyclopedia. But anyway, 2012 came around and I noticed, and this was after I went to school, I got my degree, a bachelor's degree in sociology, and I noticed, I was like, damn, I'm not being hired by certain jobs. And I would ask myself, I would be like, I wonder why they didn't take me for that job. So, because a lot of times I was like, yeah, I hit all my bases, like I'm great for this job right here. And then I noticed, I was like, oh shit, I get those letters where it's like, oh, this is what you have on your background. So it kept on popping up. So I was like, oh, this is this thing, this thing that just keeps on popping up on my record, and it doesn't allow me to move forward in life, or it doesn't allow me to be that person. I'm like, damn, like, you know, I spent years going to school, improving myself, but then it's like, this is why I went to school, right? This is why I improved myself, so I can be somebody in society, have a job that I deserve, or that I've earned through working, having experiences, and going to school. And I'm like, really, after all of this? So I was like, you know what, all right, I figured out how to expunge my record. So I did that, and I could do it. I met all the requirements. I believe it was 5 years past the conviction. And so I did it. I think I had to write to like 6 different prosecutors or whatever, the county prosecutor and all these. I had to send a bunch of people letters, is all I know, to request it. To request the expungement hearing. Did it all myself. I got the hearing. I forgot what date it was, but I believe it was sometime in 2012, winter time, maybe February, something like that. And I was so happy that I did that. I felt like I achieved, that was like one of the greatest things I achieved, is because I did it myself. Whatever I paid for was money that I used, that I earned, that I worked. Working hard at FedEx Ground in Keysby, Jersey. And yes, I got the expungement order. And yeah, after that, I started getting jobs. Like, I started being accepted into companies and positions, and I was like, oh yes, this was it. That was it. And it sucks because it took time for me too, because I was like, damn, like, I got older. And it is true, as you get older, things start to decrease. Your mind, your ability to do things, strength, unfortunately. But again, there's things that you can do to remedy that, and you can fix it. And it all starts off with the mind. It starts off with believing in yourself, believing that you can do it, feeling good, feeling strong, feeling valuable, and then you go from there. But again, one of the greatest things that I've done so far, I believe, so So I mean, even a person like myself, that I've done that I'm still able to, and luckily I got into Pinellas County. I'm working as a 911 telecommunicator, and to get that job, I actually had to disclose my information, because certain jobs, law enforcement, whatever, you have to disclose whatever record you had, even if it is expunged. So I'm like, really, I did this for nothing? Like, I was telling myself, I was like, really, I did this for nothing? Like, why? So I was like, you know what? Let me keep on going, because I did very well in the exam. It's a 3-hour exam. I was like, okay, let me keep going. Let me put this out on the table. And of course, I was like, all right. I just straight up said, I was like, this is what I had on my record, or this was what I was convicted with, and you know, lo and behold, I don't know whether they found it or what, but they know what I was convicted of. And even with that, I was still hired. Luckily, I was hired, proudly hired. And that's just one of the things that you have to do, is just, you have to let them know. I was like, hey, this is what I have on my record. I was a different, which is very true, I was a completely different person back in that time. My mindset was different. My thoughts were different. I thought differently. I felt differently. I was a hothead. Even till today, I can't be that way, but it's just controlled. You gotta control these things. I think it's genetic. I honestly think it's genetic, because I've heard stories about my grandfather on my father's side, and honestly, man, a lot of people in my family, they just hotheads. They just explode in 1 minute. But that just goes back to realizing what's your issue and figuring out how to fix it or remedy it. So again, that's one of the things that I had that was wrong with me, and I just had to figure out how to fix it. And it really just goes, at the end of the day, it really is just controlling your emotions and figuring out how to do that.